Hello, 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 ladies. This podcast is designed exclusively for you. This is Her Talk Show, where we dive into inspiring thoughts, ideas, and stories, all with one purpose to empower and uplift women like you. I'm Sabrina Victoria, your host and guide on this journey of self discovery and growth. I invite you to hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. Together, we are creating a vibrant community of empowered women. Get ready to unleash your brilliance. Her Talk Show starts.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question. What do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Joining us today for this episode of Her Talk Show, we have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay so we can send you some love in the comments. Either way, if you are watching us, please share this video so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we are about to share today. Today, we're talking with an amazing woman, Ryn Sloane. She's a breast cancer survivor, thriver, and cancer mentor. She provides individualized and compassionate support for cancer fighters, survivors, and thrivers with a focus on the impact cancer has on mental and emotional health. Super excited to invite this woman to the stage. Thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you taking some time on a Friday to hang out with us. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm great. That intro was fucking awesome. I have to say, that's like the coolest intro I've ever seen on a podcast. I love it.
I love that. Thank you. Well, we're all about elevating our women here on this podcast. So I'm glad that you said that. I'm super excited to talk about the topic that you're bringing to us today. And so appreciate the vulnerable conversations that you have within your community around this topic.
Yeah, it's a biggie. Mental health and emotional health is pretty much non-existent in the cancer space. And I am on a mission to completely change that, because me having gone through cancer myself and realizing later what happened and why, time and time again, I am constantly speaking with other cancer fighters and survivors and thrivers, and they're not getting the tools that they need. So I'm literally working my ass off to change that narrative, because they go through enough shit and they need to be better prepared, and we're not doing a good job at that. So that's the mission.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So the topic that you're bringing to us is around the topic of the treatment plans.
Yeah. So what I always say, I feel like I say it a bazillion times, and I will keep saying it like one of those screaming on the mountains and die saying it until somebody hears it, is that when you get a cancer diagnosis, we're given a treatment plan. But 9 times or more out of 10, that treatment plan is focused solely on the physical body. So we know exactly what the treatment plan looks like, what kind of appointments we have coming up, what doctors we're seeing. We know what surgery might be involved and what kind of a recovery should we expect. We know what kind of chemo are we going to be given, what and how many treatments are we going to have, and radiation and so on and so forth. But what about the treatment plan that says, hey, this is the emotional stuff that's going to happen. This is what is going to happen mentally. This is the stuff that is going to show up, and it keeps showing up. And I'll tell you, even when you get to survivorship, it's actually even harder. And fear of reoccurrence and stuff like that, even as a survivor, that stuff doesn't just magically disappear. So my mission is really empowering people to have the tools and have the support that they need from the very beginning and onwards. Because as I said, once you get to survivorship or you're out of active treatment, it's kind of like everything just kind of disappears and you're left to figure all the rest out on your own. And it's terrifying because, first of all, you've got all these appointments you got used to having, and you were used to the doctors always checking in on you and seeing what's happening and this and that. And then once you hit that 6-month mark, it stops. And I've heard it from myself and multiple people. They say, we'll see you in 6 months. You go, what do I do until then? And they're like, go live your life. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't understand, because they're literally like, that net is gone and they're left to figure it all out on their own. And that's actually the biggest problem, because that's when everything they've gone through literally catches up to them.
Yes. I want to talk a little bit about what you are calling PTSD after. Because every time I think of PTSD, I think of like environments of which you are in, right? Like a bad childhood or relationship or work environment. Tell us more about this arena.
PTSD in cancer is huge, and depression. I can give you a statistic based on breast cancer, because that's really where I had started my focus. Being a breast cancer survivor, I kind of started over there. And they're saying, actually, from breastcancer.org, it's up to 80% of women who are diagnosed with breast cancer also experience PTSD. In cancer in general, it's something like, I want to say about 70% or something like that, that's depression, like they face depression. So what it is, it's like, cancer is trauma. It's trauma, and it's multiple kinds of trauma. It's physical. Your body really goes through all kinds of stuff. You also go through, your body changes. So if we're speaking breast cancer, for example, if you've gone through mastectomy, it's presented to you as a mastectomy, but the truth of the matter is you've actually gone through an amputation.
Ooh, okay.
It
Yeah.
hits hard. I didn't even put those things together until last summer. And last summer, I was approaching my 4-year survivorship mark, and I needed a few days to process that. So just to say, the work is ongoing. The healing work is ongoing, but we're not preparing people with the very real impacts that we are hit with cancer. In that, I call it the invisible scars, because literally that's what it is. It's a very traumatic event, and it doesn't matter what kind of cancer you've experienced. Those invisible scars are pretty much just about the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. What are some of the PTSD symptoms that somebody could possibly come across? Like you mentioned, you know,
Yeah.
removing the breast.
So let's use that as an example.
Okay.
Right? So typically, I mean, there are men who get breast cancer, but if we speak based on women, because this is her talk show, and also most of the time it's a woman facing breast cancer, if we're speaking about mastectomy, whether that's one or double, doesn't matter at that point. Not only is that person going through an amputation and losing a body part, they're also losing a part of them that is feminized. So it's a lot to process. And then you've got to look at the fact that if they do choose to go with reconstruction, what kind of reconstruction are they having? That's more trauma on the body. It also changes their physical image, and it also changes what's going on in here about themselves. And as women, we have plenty of stuff going on here about our physical bodies and our self-image. So now you throw in having to give up body parts and replace them potentially. That's a lot of stuff to work through and unpack.
Yes. I know. I remember flowing through your Instagram a few days ago, and there was a post that said, I know this is kind of off topic, but this is reminding me of it. It said how to choose between breast implants and just kind of staying flat, or what, I didn't dive in. I didn't see that. What's the conversation behind that?
Well, there's a lot involved in making that decision. A lot of women potentially struggle making it because in today's society that we live in, as women, it's tough. It's tough to be a woman in this world. Now, you've got your breasts removed. Now you're facing a decision of, do you want to have reconstruction of some kind and have those again? And what does that look like and mean to you? And why would you like to do that? Versus it's a whole other thing when you choose to go flat, and society pressures and what people think of you and how you're going to deal with that. It's also a loaded conversation potentially for people. And so that post in particular was just kind of me saying to the women who've gone through it that this is your choice and your choice alone, and I support you either way, and I think you're fucking amazing, and just you do you, you know. That sense of sisterhood and support is really important.
Yeah, definitely. And really, to continue with that, the grief, the shame, the anger behind all of that, causing a lot of that PTSD that you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you go through, I call it kind of a tornado. It happens really fast, and there's a lot of shit going on in there all at once. And that's why I say after active treatment, that's typically like the most important part. Because that's when all that shit that's been flying around that you don't have time to process because you're just trying to survive, when all that lands, you have a big fucking mess to look at and to not only look at, to sort through and to figure out, and to also put yourself together as well as your entire life. It's a lot.
Yeah. What would you say are the first 3 steps when somebody gets a cancer diagnosis? Now looking back, right? Now you're hindsight 2020. First 3 steps that you would encourage, that isn't given by a doctor, right? This is just your own personal experience of what you would encourage others to do when they first get the diagnosis. What's the first 3 things somebody should?
Ooh, nobody's ever asked me this. That's a really good question. I won't put them in any order because this is like a new question. I really like it. Definitely get support. And so, yes, it's great to have family and friends support, but you need support by a community that is actually familiar with what it is to go through cancer. So you can go specific, like if you're diagnosed with a specific cancer, there are tons of communities for that, all different kinds of cancer, whatever that looks like. I highly recommend it. I always say cancer is not something you go through alone, and your friends and family are great, but you need people who actually have experienced it so they can help guide you through specific things that you're going to face. And I also think it's important to know that you don't have to tell everybody. So I think it's very important to tell the people that you feel you want to share this with and that you feel will support you in. That's really important because sometimes there's this weird sense that we have to tell everybody. And one of the biggest things I would say is the third is probably to know that it's very normal for people to act really weird around you and to maybe even ghost you. And if that's the case, just know it's got nothing to do with you. It's their shit coming up.
Yeah.
I had to learn that as well. I had family members and close friends get really weird. And I didn't understand at that time what was going on. But then I also had people that, from Facebook, for example, that kind of are on the sidelines. They really came up and came in and supported me. So to feel that sense of like certain people coming out and other people coming in, even if that doesn't make sense at the time, it has nothing to do with you. It's just cancer brings up shit for everybody because we've all experienced it in one capacity or another. And it makes all of us uncomfortable. So we just get weird.
Yeah. And I can attest to that. I know I have not with cancer, but just even with death. I mean, there's just certain things where you don't know what to do or what to say. And I actually had an amazing conversation with a woman who lost her child. She gave birth to, almost to a stillborn, and the exactly that, like people didn't know what to say or how to approach that.
Yeah.
And she got, I don't want to say ghosted, but I guess ghosted by, a handful of individuals for like a few months, before they kind of started coming back into her life again, because they just didn't know how to handle it. Yeah, we're not equipped for that.
Exactly. And it's really not their fault. It's just exactly what you said. They're not equipped. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. So they kind of just freak out and disappear because it's like super uncomfortable and they have no idea how to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you suggest?
For them?
For you. Like looking back now, what would you have appreciated or how?
Oh, if I had my advice back then, I would have taken it.
Should we be sending cookies? Should we be sending a cleaning lady? Should we be sending cards? Should we call you every single day?
All of the above. Yeah.
All of the above.
It's, you know what? I learned this from a mentor who really has changed my life. And I really try to completely act from this one thing she taught me. And it's really asking yourself this one question. And it's, what would love do? Like literally, what would love do? So in that scenario, what would love do? Well, house chores, come and spend some time with that person. Even like I had my brother-in-law, he came down for a couple of days. We binge watched Game of Thrones and laughed our asses off at people being beheaded. I mean, it was fucked up, but I just needed that kind of like, you know what I mean? Like I just needed to not think and have company with somebody who could just laugh with me. And you know what? I'm a true believer in a sense of humor. And, there is a time and place for that, of course. But through my own experience, having a sense of humor when appropriate is extremely helpful. Extremely helpful. If you can find stupid shit to laugh at, if you can have people send you stupid things to laugh at, or, just something that just kind of lightens that mood just for a minute, it makes a really big difference.
Did you guys laugh at just the random penises that would just appear on screen? You're just...
When can you not laugh at that? I mean, that's always funny. Yeah, we just laughed at I think because mentally I was so gone, exhausted, that it was just like, what's real, what's not, you know what I mean? It's almost like you're not really all there at some points. Yeah, so just to know, you could be on the couch and you don't have to think about stuff. You can just watch this show that's crazy and just appreciate it for what it was, and it didn't matter at that time about anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can get that. Speaking of humor, one of the questions that I wanted to ask revolves around time. So spending your time, what are some outlets that you would
encourage? You have good questions. Wow, I really like this.
So I'm imagining watching shows, funny shows, some humor.
Definitely.
What else? What should individuals really kind of dive into when they're going through this? That would be beneficial. Obviously you can also sit on the couch and eat a bunch of Oreos.
Yeah, let's not do that.
But what's some alternatives that some healthy alternatives?
It's really an opportunity to consider ways that you can connect with yourself. So whatever that looks like. So for my example, I literally lived on a couch for months on end, to the point where we had to throw the couch out after, because, leading up to that, we had it a few years, but I spent so much time living on that couch that I killed it. I read a lot of books, and I'm not a reader. I did a lot of journaling, and I have been an artist my whole life, and I was devastated that I couldn't paint. I was a painter, and I had fucking T-Rex arms. I couldn't lift my arms. When you have breast cancer and you go through a double mastectomy, I couldn't even lift them past the elbow stage. Like, I literally had, in the beginning, I had pillows that had to be put under my arms because I couldn't even support my own arms. I had zero strength.
Wow.
Zero. And they don't prep you for that. When I was diagnosed, I was the strongest I'd ever been. I share photos sometimes. Like, I was always at the gym, not always at the gym, but I was like really, into lifting, and I took care of myself. I was healthy, I thought, and then 38 years old, oh my God, what the fuck's happening? I have a 5-year-old. How is this real? Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And so I turned to other solutions. And this is really what I share with people now. I had a bunch of my own health issues prior to breast cancer that was involved with like a really difficult pregnancy. And then my son was an emergency birth. And then I had 3 surgeries after that to fix my body up because my body kind of got destroyed. And so at that time, for a decade ahead, I had been using a journal to process my life, and I mean, it's not all bad stuff, but I used things that I knew how to do. So I knew how to express myself in different forms. And I used that. And when I was going through those previous health battles, that really helped me. So going through breast cancer, because I couldn't paint, I needed to express myself. So not only do we need to express ourselves as human beings, but when you're identifying yourself as an artist, that need is even higher.
Yeah.
And so I grabbed my journal. That's what I knew how to do. And I wrote, I drew, I painted, anything that I could get stuff out of. And going back to the PTSD and that 80%, I was fortunate enough not to have PTSD because I had these tools and I was expressing myself and I was dealing with everything, going through it. As I was rolling with the punches, I was also working through all that shit that was flying around in my tornado. So by the end of it, I didn't have this huge disaster to clean up because I had been doing the work the whole time. Yeah. And this is when I realized, holy shit, if I can teach people this, then that 80% PTSD and that huge number of cancer depression, that can go away, like substantially improved. And it goes back to just giving people the tools they need right from the beginning, and that support continues all the way through and beyond. Yeah. And that's huge. Like, it has to be beyond survivorship, because you can't just spit people out and have them like go figure it out on their own when they've gone through something as life-changing as cancer, and it fucking changes you. Yeah. It doesn't matter what kind it was, what your experience with it was, which, by the way, is different for every single person. It changes you, and you need tools to understand what to do with all that. And on top of it, when people are working with me, I also help them not just go through all that, but I help them rediscover who they are now. That's a big part too. Lots of people struggle with the fact that they want to go back to who they were, and you just can't. You can't go there. So it's a big bag. It's a big bag of stuff we unpack. Yeah.
When you were talking, I was thinking to myself, just even myself, right? Like, all of the stuff. What did you do? Because we're talking about plans, right? Like a plan, not just the doctor's plan. Like, the doctor gives you their plan, but then there's so many other things,
right?
Like your home and the cycle of which your home like works, right? Dinner, cooking, grocery shopping, cleaning, doctor's appointments, taking the dog in. Like, there's so many other things that are outside of the plan.
Yeah. That's true.
What are your thoughts on that? Like sitting down and creating a
Yeah. So,
system because you're immobilized for some time.
yeah, if you're going through surgery and things like that, no matter what, you need support. But if surgery is part of that picture or chemo is part of that picture, when you're literally, you don't have energy. You just don't. And whatever energy you have, you must rest so your body can actually recover and heal. Um, so that would go back, I think, to having these conversations with people. And I think communicating is so important. And just telling people what you need help with. It's literally asking for help. So, yes to everything you said, asking for help, like having meals ready to go. Get some friends or family members, see if they can batch cook some stuff and throw it in the freezer so that that stuff's ready. And if you have a partner, I mean, in my situation, I wish I could do it different because everything fell on my husband. We live on our own. Our family is not down here with us. So he had to do everything with a 5-year-old and 2 dogs in an apartment. So you can't just throw them out in the yard to go do their stuff. You have to take them. It was way too much, way too much. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it totally different. So yeah, having like asking people, can you come do my laundry? Can you come cook some food? Can you drop some food off? Can you hang out with my kids? Can you vacuum? Can you please, do some of the cleaning? Like all of that stuff.
And there's a second beforehand, I'm assuming. I mean, it's not like you find out and then the next day you're in surgery. I mean, there's a second, right, where you could plan some stuff.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. I would say leading up to then, the problem with that though is that you get so devastated. You're almost not like life's not real right now. Once you get that diagnosis, you go through this, like, you're kind of like a zombie about it. Like, is this really happening? And all the emotions come up and it just doesn't seem real for a while. So yeah, I would say if you're able to prep your house and prepare and do things like that, but I also think you don't want to run yourself down ahead of time. That's really important too. Self-care is going to be the most important thing that you learn to do in that moment and beyond. Like, I can't even stress that enough. Self-care and rest are critical during cancer, and we're not very good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. Are there any support groups that you recommend?
Mine.
Yes, girl. What is the name of your support group?
Actually, I don't have one at the moment, but I'm all over Instagram and I support people all the time in the DMs. But it is a goal of mine to create a support group for all cancer people. And when I say that, I want a place where supporters and caregivers can come because they're usually left out and they go through their own shit. I want this whole melting pot effect to occur at some point. So that's definitely on my list that I will eventually launch. But Facebook honestly has a ton of support groups, and sometimes the hospitals offer them. It's just we have to be very much the outspoken person and asking for these things. They're not great at providing them.
They might like hand you a pamphlet and then you have to like,
everybody relates to that big binder you get. There's this big binder. You get a diagnosis. They give you this big fucking binder with all this paperwork in it. None of it makes sense. Cancer is literally like a new language you have to learn. And you're so full of shock that you're not absorbing anything. Your diagnosis, like the terms, none of that made sense to me for months. I didn't understand all the terms, and people would say, what'd you diagnose with? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, that stuff didn't like sink in for a long time, but Facebook has a ton of different communities. I do think now that we're past COVID, if people can go to in-person support groups, if they have the energy for that, maybe that's later on. That's worthwhile. But Facebook is nice in the sense that you can log on and, be in recovery on the couch, and you can still get that sense of people understand where you're at and what you're dealing with. So I think that's really important. I don't have a specific group in mind. Yeah.
Perfect. I think it's pretty obvious what you do, but can you, for those that are listening live, by the way, thank you so much for those of you that are watching live. If you are watching on the replay, if you could hashtag replay wherever you're at, so we can send you some love. But Ryn, for those that are watching live that are resonating with you, who should be reaching out to you? Who do you specifically help?
I help everybody from diagnosis all the way through survivorship. And when I say survivorship, I'm also talking about people dealing with lifelong diagnosis who are maybe not in as much of the active treatment part of it. There is help needed all the way through. And because I know all those stages, I'm able to help you with where you're at. And what I feel is really important is, there's a lot of programs out there and I think they're great, but what I'm doing right now, I haven't found a program that's at all similar to mine in terms of the way I take what somebody's going through and help them process it is really unique. And going back to, as I said, having these journals that I learned how to express myself with, I meet people where they're at, and that's how I show up for them. I don't just spew out my information. It's not cookie cutter, is what I'm trying to say. So if Joe is over here and Sally is over there, I'm going over here for Sally to help her in this particular area she's in right now. And I'll go all the way over here to help Joe with his stuff and, work with them appropriately. So it depends on the person. What I'm a real stickler for, to be honest with you, is I want to help people who are ready to receive the help, but they have to be willing to do the work. There's work that has to be done. It's not just I sign up to work with you and you just sit back. Like, you got to roll your sleeves up, and I do it with you. I'm 110% in, and I need you to be 100% in, because otherwise it just doesn't work and we're both wasting our time. And I want to work with the people who actually want to get through this. So I know that sounds kind of assholey, but that is just the truth. There's a lot of people that need help. Not everybody wants to do the work. It's hard.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Why do you do what you do?
Because I know in my heart and soul this is what I'm here for. And it's like, if you have something that you can help a lot of people with, I think there's a sense of responsibility to show up in the world with that and give it and offer it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have your Instagram on the screen right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
That's where you predominantly hang out and share all of your goodies and experience and advice and journey with all of the peeps. So appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. These questions were really great.
I love it. As we're closing up, what are your closing thoughts on all of this?
I feel like there is a lot of work to be done. And, you can mark these words, but I feel like it's time. Like there's a lot of room for improvement. And so I'm really looking to bring that change to people because they fucking deserve it. And it's hard enough to go through cancer, but I think the people of contact, and it's not their fault, they just don't know.
Yeah.
But it is a responsibility, I think, to the rest of us to prepare these people and give them the tools that they need to make it easier. Because we've all been affected by cancer, whether we've been affected personally or we know people who have. There is not a single person in this world who hasn't experienced it.
Yeah.
And we could all agree that cancer, it sucks. So if there is a way to make it better for people, then, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your big dreams for Ryn Sloane and the community that you're building?
I literally want to change the whole conversation. Yeah. I created the Sloane healing method, and it's literally the process that you go through step by step that I help you through. And I want this to be available to everybody. I want it to become a known thing in the cancer space. It's a big fucking dream, but I'm here for it.
How many steps?
Self, love, observe, acknowledge, nurture, and express.
Mm.
And we go through it all.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is that from beginning till when you're out? I don't remember what verbiage you used, but when they just kind of like kick you to the curb and
Yeah, they kind of do. They're not rude about it. They just don't know.
Yeah.
No, you know what? This method that I teach people and the tools that I teach people, what's really cool about it is it's not cancer specific. It's life stuff.
Ooh.
It's life stuff. So yeah, like it totally, this is exactly how I healed myself through it. And why it's so, to me, like I feel like this is a responsibility to share with people and to bring this to the world. People need this. But the coolest thing about it is you can use this through your cancer experience and use it that way, but you can apply this to a divorce. You can apply this to day-to-day bullshit that we deal with. You can apply this to domestic stuff. You can, like, literally any kind of thing that you're going through. We're emotional beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I work in teaching people how to express themselves, to empower themselves. But if we're not expressing ourselves, we're not dealing with the stuff that we've got going on inside. And PTSD and depression and anxiety and stress and all that stuff, that's emotions that are not processed. They're stuck in you. So I pull all that shit out of people so that we basically put it out on the table and we talk about it together and we sort through it all and we work at it. And then once you put the work in, you can kind of take that step forward.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's interesting. So pulling anxiety out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, I get people to, you know what? Like I hear all the time, oh, this is my good emotion. This is a bad emotion. So I don't go there. It's like, no, emotions are information. Like you need to know what pain is because that way we know what pleasure is. Like there's that contrast needed. Otherwise, if you don't know what it is to be sad, how do you know what it is to be happy? No, you just don't, right? So and we kind of fall into this mentality sometimes where, we got to be positive thinkers and we got to be up all the time and in the good feelings and this and that. And it's bullshit. Like you're a human being. It's messy. Like you get to have your messy emotions with the good stuff, but it's a matter of understanding what they mean and how to process them. That's all we're doing. It's just sorting information, but to think like, I'm just going to feel the good stuff and think positive stuff. You can try that, but as a human being, it's not possible. You're going to have a shitty day. You're going to be pissed off. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to have anger. You're going to want to scream. And I say people fucking do it. Go feel all the stuff. But the difference is I don't let you stay there. But you got to feel it.
Yeah. I do 100% agree with what you're saying. And I think that there is some miscommunication with that as far as individuals feeling as if anxiety or depression is bad and it's something that they need to get rid of versus just recognizing that it's just the ebb and flow of.
Yeah, it's unhealed stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical person and stuff. And there are legit reasons like someone might need medication and stuff like that. But if we just start with helping someone learn how to go inward and really understand how to feel, we don't teach people that.
Yeah.
You know, when we're little kids and stuff, like if we're crying over something that maybe is silly, like we're told to stop crying.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately it's like, oh, that's not good. I shouldn't do that. So then we get into this thought of like, hold back my tears, you know, and like, so now you're pushing all that shit down. And when you do that enough, some nasty stuff is created and you explode. And
Yeah.
if we're just taught how to, you know, be human,
Mm-hmm.
it could be easier.
Yeah. And I think that is the state of which, you know, Her Nation talks a lot about as far as being curious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not that Ryn Sloane is sitting here saying, I can cure you of all the things, but it's just kind of like, well, maybe not, but have you ever tried it to even know whether or not it would work or not work?
Yeah, I will never say I can cure you because I'm telling people constantly, you're healing all the time if
Yeah.
you're doing the work. And like I said, I'm coming up to my 5 years, and when I have to go for an appointment, I have fear. I have scanxiety, as they call it. Like all that shit comes up for me too. I'm as human as the next person, but I have the tools that
Yeah.
help me deal with that and sort through it. So I know how to move forward, even if I have that fear with me.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't paralyze me. It doesn't take over my thoughts. It doesn't start creating all this crazy stuff for me. I just kind of know what to do and move forward.
Yeah. That's beautiful. And that's when you really start taking your power back.
Yes, that's what I'm all about. People, you know, you cannot control cancer. You can't control that you've got it. But everything else that's happening inside of you, your thoughts, your behavior, everything, that's all you. And I'm all about giving you your power back and showing you how to take it. Your power has got to be in your hands, but you got to know how to get it. You know, lots of people are like, why me? And I was there too. In the very beginning, I was there too. And I snapped myself out of that and never let me think like that again.
Yeah.
It does so much more harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially since, like what you said, it's like you were living a healthy life. You were
Yeah.
exercising and going to the gym, and your body was looking on point. And then the last person you would think.
Yeah, you know, when you do all the right things, I didn't do drugs, I didn't smoke, I wasn't a drinker, like it's like
Wow.
and then you're like, why me? What did I do wrong?
Mm.
And I mean those are normal thoughts, but they're also victimy as hell, you know.
Yeah.
And so somebody once described me as what did she say? I have a duality where I can be very soft, very compassionate, but I will also give you that kick in the ass and tough love when you need it. And
Mm.
I don't let people even entertain that victim idea. There's
Mm.
no fucking time for that and no room for it either because it doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, we don't play that game.
Yeah. Well, this has been phenomenal.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing some amazingness with us. We appreciate that. For those of you listening live and on the replay, if you resonate with Ryn and all the goodness that she shared, make sure you follow her on Insta at Ryn Sloane. It's on the screen. I'm going to screenshot that. Her website is rynsloane.com. It should be in a clickable link in the description wherever you're watching us at. So make sure you click that. And I think she has her social media on there and a way to contact her directly so that you can have a conversation. Do you have a way to set up some sort of an appointment or sit down, call?
Yeah. So if anybody through the website, you can apply to work with me, or you can send me a message, or if you jump on Instagram and send me a message, you'll get me right there personally. I answer all my messages. It's always me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Ryn. We so appreciate you
Thank you. This was amazing.
for being here. And that brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our amazing guest speaker, Ms. Ryn Sloane, for sharing her wisdom and inspiring us all. To each and every one of you, our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Your support and engagement means the world to us. Remember to follow, like, and share. Join me again in our next episode for more captivating stories, enlightening thoughts, and powerful ideas to fuel your journey. Once again, my name is Sabrina Victoria, and I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to have transformative conversations just like this. Until next time,